allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence for everybody who's protecting and serving, keeping us safe and taking care of us. Thank you. All right, approval of the minutes for October 4th. Motion by Legislator Klein, second by Legislator Greco. Any additions, deletions, corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's approved. PS1, right, resolutions. We have a budget modification. This is for an insurance recovery in the amount of $31,981.15. Motion by Legislator Mangano, second by Legislator Greco. Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Stands approved. I would like the record to note that Legislator Emmons is excused from this meeting. I keep looking to John Toomey, but he's not taking notes, I don't think. Anyway,
Like it, then you won't be able to read
so
it.
that's a PS2 resolution. This is a budget modification to accept revenue from the APW school district to fund the SPO position. Motion by Legislator Klein, second by Legislator Chesborough. Questions? We all know this is equal money we put in the budget, and I'm glad to see that the department was able to work with APW to get them on board. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Stands approved. PS3, budget modification, E911 overtime. This is moving $15,000 from salary and wages to overtime payments. As we all know, when you're short on staff, you need to pay overtime to other people, so it's just moving money. Motion by Legislator Klein, second by Legislator Magano. Question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Stands approved. PS4, this is a resolution establishing capital project, and we do need to amend this to put in capital project 0621. So this is for the correctional facilities control system. So out of the starting gate, I would entertain a motion to amend it for capital project to reflect capital project 0621. Motion by Legislator Magano, second by Legislator Klein. On the amendment, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So back on this as amended, this is an $850,000 price tag for our, and all through the resolution it should be amended for 0621, just so you know. This is a capital project for our security control system in the jail, correctional facility, excuse me. Under Sheriff, do you want to explain anything else to the committee? I know that most of us.
I remember most of you were here when we explained it last Tuesday, I think. Pretty much the same thing. I do have the corrections administrative staff meeting with Greg Pollen right now, and 11 o'clock meeting today to go over it and see if there's anything that just doesn't need to be in there or what, but we think it's a pretty accurate proposal. Black Creek came up in June, gave us this estimate in August, just telling us that basically all our systems were so outdated that they had to replace everything. They couldn't just fix it because everything is out of date.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Stands approved. Okay, so that's all of our resolutions. I'm going to go into reporting departments. When we do your department, I'm also going to do your budget. Okay? So EMO, EMS, give you a report, and then we'll go into your budget.
Well, report-wise, for EMO, I don't really have a lot new from last month. We completed another eval for our radiological program for the reception center at Fairgrounds, and that went well with FEMA. So we have one more this week with the hospital, and that should finish up our evals for the year. Other than that, we continue to support the health department with COVID response. We aren't participating so much in our vaccine clinics because we've had a lot of our own stuff going on lately, but starting to see some requests for PPE from various departments. So we're trying to check our inventories and ordering accordingly what we need. Lake levels. Got a call this morning from a woman that we get very frequently in Granby area. She has water that comes up into her yard quite heavily, and called 911 over the weekend for support of that. And the Cody district was activated for that, but ended up being their town supervisor showed up. They need sandbags, so we're trying to connect them with our county highway where we have sandbags. Hopefully we can get some out to her address. So other than that, I don't have anything for EMS, or Renee can go over the EMS portion.
All right.
Questions for EMO?
You said about PPE, how are you set for hand sanitizer? Okay, I guess that would be, you got a lot of it.
Yes, so we actually got a couple of pallets from
Yes.
one distillery.
That's why I was wondering if you got it and if you needed more.
So, we were gonna hand those out in all 1,000 bags at Super Dirt Week, so every camping bag got one, and then somebody thought that they looked too much like water bottles and was afraid that people would drink
it.
them, so they got pulled. So, we're good.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, just wanted to know.
But if we need some, I will surely look you up.
Yes, I
we still
know,
have quite a
you're
bit
very
of
good
New
about
York.
wanting
We
to
do
give you
have-
guys some.
We still have the New York.
10 gallons and 2 ounce for New York Clean, so.
Okay.
It's basically masks that we're looking at right now, and maybe you ordered some gloves lately. Seems like we ordered some recently. We're going to, but surgical masks more than anything, and some. What we just ordered? Sharp containers for the vaccine products.
We're anticipating an uptick in use of those for 5 to 11-year-olds as they start vaccinating school-age kids. So we just wanted to make sure we had enough Sharps containers and they're doing flu shots, et cetera. So,
Flu shots. Okay. Great, thank you.
so as far as EMS, you can see we started another class in Pulaski. Our medical director did get to attend our FEMA exercise. He had participated in the EMS portion where they received a patient at university, and then so he got to see the other part on the front side, I guess, if you will, of what happens up here that could potentially land a person in Syracuse. So he appreciated that. On the note for the medical director, our RFP did just end, and purchasing said this morning they received one bid from upstate, so she hasn't given us any information yet. We're hoping it's Dr. Holliday, but we don't know what the cost of that was either on the bid that he submitted. So
Yeah.
we're waiting for information from purchasing to know what that result was.
So that'll be at January 2020, depending on what that comes in at. We share that cost with 911 for that medical director, so between us and 911.
The biggest issue in EMS right now is our hospitals. Our hospitals are inundated and hospital wait times. We've had several times when all 4 hospitals have been on diversion in Syracuse. You can see from the report, they're starting this forced rotation. So instead of sending people out of the county to Cayuga, to Oneida, to Watertown, they're saying, you're up next, you're up next, you're up next. So that still leaves ambulances stacked at hospitals. Other counties have started to do what they call staging. So if somebody calls in, they have a low acuity call, like for instance, last week we got a call for my infected toe. It's an alpha priority. They say, all right, you need to wait until the ambulance is back in your district, and they will come in and see you when they're available. So that's what some of our neighboring counties are doing. The issue is when 911 answers a call, they go on what the call taker gives them, and sometimes that's hard to figure out how accurate that information is. So we don't want somebody who has a more severe issue waiting. So we have some things to talk about with EMS. We're going to have a director's meeting and decide, what are you seeing and what are some of your thoughts on what we can do. Oswego Health has been really good with us trying to get our ambulances out. The other thing that they're doing is, because you cannot leave a patient, you have to leave it with somebody who's an equal level of care or higher. AMR is now at their Syracuse hospitals leaving 1 paramedic in charge of up to 6 patients. So they'll move that ambulance back out. So, you're here, you watch my patient and your patient, and your patient and your patient and your patient and your patient, and then we're gonna hit the road. So,
That's not how that works.
yeah, we have not started doing that, but just so people are aware, that's some of what's going on in EMS. So, as usual, I got to bring the great news today.
Legislator Greco and then Legislator Trudeau.
Have we seen any serious fatalities or anything because of these delays yet? Has there been any serious lapses in care because we've got people stacked at the door?
Not to my knowledge yet, but we always say time is tissue, right? So
Yeah,
if
right.
somebody's having, so with a lot of these diversions, the hospitals usually are still in service for their specialties. So if Upstate goes on diversion, that's emergency department, usually they're still open for trauma and burns. But obviously you can see, even if you're accepting specialties, there's just a lot going on. So we don't really know the result. Strokes, heart attacks, time is literally tissue. So, but we are seeing some people wait 20, 25 minutes for ambulances to arrive because they're coming from a neighboring area. So if you pull, we've moved McPhee ambulance into the closer to Fulton because Minor has been out of service. All of their ambulances are out. So usually we can call Oswego Hospital and say, hey, if you got anybody you can put back on the street, we really need them. But we moved Fairhaven up the other day because we had nobody in the southern part, and Fairhaven came closer to the county line, so longer wait times.
Legislator Trudell?
Just kind of an anecdotal question that is on vaccine mandates. Would you say there's been a significant, insignificant, minimal, how would you characterize the vaccine mandates effect on all this?
So right now, the EMS has not been officially mandated.
Okay.
So, but we have about 20% that would potentially leave the workforce.
And what's your thought? Would they leave or would they, I hate to use the word comply, but for lack of better, would they potentially leave?
The information that I received back was they have about 20% that would decide to change careers.
Okay. I would say that's significant. Okay, thank you.
It's safe to say, though, that the direct effect that we're having on our ambulance corps and everything that's going on with the wait times, and that has to do with the vaccine mandate for those hospitals, correct?
Yeah, some of it's staffing, yeah, for the hospitals. Yes.
What about Mentor? You said they have no ambulances on the road. Is that they just staffing they can't get?
Several times we've had back-to-back calls, so they just empty their units, they're out on the road. So Zach has relayed to us that his staffing right now is good. He has as many BLS providers as he needs. We always need more paramedics. Our paramedic programs right now are very full. Faxton Lake St. Luke's has 52 from around the region, and I think Upstate has 46. Only a portion of those are ours. So we always need more paramedics, but right now he's fully staffed with BLS, and he has a class in progress right now. So some of it is we just are doing calls.
Have we worked with like workforce and things of that nature at our colleges around the area to help with our paramedic numbers? Or are we still?
With paramedic numbers, I'm not sure that we can, no.
And we can't run a paramedic class.
Well, we can, but we can help. If this is a public safety issue, we should be out there doing a little bit of a service to make sure to help get these people into this line of work. Right?
We have people who want to take the paramedic program, but there's not space.
Okay, that's
So-
what you get.
Those paramedic programs, they're getting applications early in the year, and they interview in June and July. So normally by April, they're waiting list. So
That's their claim.
Yes, a question, because you're on top of this and it's in your department. Your paramedics, right, at this juncture, approximately, what do they make it an hour?
17,
17? And that goes with quite a lot of training too, if I remember right. Is that correct?
and continuous training required.
I-
Continuous training required as well. So yes, a lot of training, and then they have a 3-year training requirement to stay certified.
It must be getting kind of difficult when you're competing with the sectors of fast foods and Lowe's and Home Depot and retail for what you're paying right now, and they have no responsibility whatsoever.
Right.
No qualifications.
With zero qualifications. But that's something we should be looking at and addressing in one way or the other. We gotta do something. Have to do something.
Okay,
you know.
anything else from EMS? All right, budget starts on 86 for them. Kathy, any highlights you want to give us?
I don't think so. I can entertain any questions. I know this year,
we asked for money in our budget for EMS education. We asked for the EMS budget for $10,000, and that would be to support the medical director for the 2022 year, as well as some of the mandates that come along with that EMS education, which a lot of it is to send Renee to some courses that she needs to keep in order to keep her certification, keep that EMS education continuing. There's also, let's see here, so consumables that we need for it. We haven't in the past, but we put in there for the AEDs. I don't know if you're gonna switch that, to county fire or not, but, right now we put it in there to maintain that as we do right now. Okay. So those are some of the things that's in that budget. Welcome any questions in regards to the radiological budget, but that's just standard across the board, our normal budget. I don't think there's any outliers in there, differing from the year before. I think I put more money in there for furniture this year because we have the most outdated furniture, I think, in the county, but I actually found a picture back when Pat Egan was here in like 1989. I go, that looks like my office today. So we were going to do some upgrades, and we moved Renee out of the EMS coordinator position that's way down in the south end of our parking lot, and we moved her to the north end, so we'd like to get her situated better in dose assessment. That's a better place for her, and we've since put Kevin's communications Jason in that room, so we were trying to do some updates around there. So
Total cost for this department is $10,000, so can I entertain a motion to get her on the floor here? Motion by legislator Chesbro, second by legislator Trudeau. Any questions?
And the only other additional add is when I get something back from purchasing on what the latest RFP came in at. We believe it's gonna be the same Dr. Holliday that we had before, but he knew what our budget was prior to that, so I'll let you know what that comes in at too, so.
All right, anything? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Stands approved. All right, probation, you're up.
Well, as far as my report, there isn't really anything too notable other than staffing issues. I've lost, I think I mentioned this before, I've lost 3 of my supervisors out of 4 since June retirement. So I just promoted 2. I still have 1 vacant supervisor position that I'm going to keep vacant for a while just because our numbers are kind of low and I think we can get along with that. As far as our caseload numbers are pretty much where they've been, not any really significant changes. Questions?
Okay. No questions, we'll move into the budget. Can I get a motion to put it on the floor?
So many.
Motion by legislator Klein, second by legislator Greco. Okay.
The only thing really, everything's pretty much the same as this budget year. The only change I have is in personnel. I deleted a probation officer position because we've already absorbed some caseloads and I think we can get along without that position after we need it. And I requested to upgrade our principal clerk to a principal accountant, which is a 2-grade jump because what that person is doing now is completely out of the job description on so. Actually, he's the one we had in that just retired or moved on Friday, so I lost it. I've got people we can now this time, right?
So, in an essence, you're going from 2.1 million to 1.9 million on your budget. All right, questions for him? All right, all in favor of moving it to F and P, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Stands approved. All right, thank you. Fire coordinator.
Morning. Reports is submitted as follows. The only change that I have on that is just add, I've got dates for the battalion meetings. If you're interested in those, Battalion 4 will be the 9th of November, Battalion 1 will be the 10th, the 11th will be Battalion 2, and the 16th will be the 3rd Battalion 3. Any questions on that?
All right. Anything else for fire coordinator's report? All right, I guess we're moving in the budget. We're at page 78. Motion to put it on the floor.
So made.
Motion by legislator Klein, second by legislator Chesbro. All right.
2 minor changes. I made a typo on one of the deputy coordinator positions. That's A3410 418704. That should have been proposed at 4160.
3160 from 3692.
Yes, sir.
That's on page 79, fourth one down. Okay.
And the second thing was looking at the numbers for heating cost and cost of propane. I'm looking to add a $2,000 increase to that budget. I did some rough calculations on the numbers that are projected for the rest of the year. Last year, October, November, December, we spent $547.64 to heat Sutton's, which is our alternate site. This year's projection is almost doubled at $952.88. And that's, weather and all that comes into play. So I'm looking to add an additional $2,000 to that line item, 3410, 54, 1800, gas and heating fuel.
Page 80, third one on it. So I had 2,000, you're saying?
Yes, sir. Entertain any questions?
All right, hold on. We got the two proposals that have been brought forward. Can I entertain a motion to amend as presented from Mr. Laws?
Yeah.
Motion by legislator Greco, second by legislator Magino. Discussions on the amendment. Legislator Chesbro.
In as much as, this is one about the, the gas and
Well,
heating?
he just talked.
Yes, the gas and heating.
Yes.
Why would you think the weather's gonna be that much worse this year to add 2,000?
We had a mild October in December last year
Right,
compared. So again, just using the numbers from last year, if we have a harder winter, colder winter, it's a fuel cost. So the price is a gallon, they're projecting in December is $1.99 a gallon.
okay.
And we just paid in October $2.03 a gallon.
Okay, I was thinking, why would you think the weather was gonna be worse when it's supposed to be, it's the cost of gas.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Cost of oil.
And oil, yes, it's all gone up.
Legislator Trudell.
On that one, the gas and heating, is that propane strictly for gas and heating and
That's
not used for the fire?
It's also gonna offset that because we did see an increase in what we used this year.
For training?
For training because we've had more pay to plays.
Okay.
So I'm buffering a little bit that we're spending on heating and that, and then the rest will be offset to fill and run the facility.
Is that included in this line?
I believe, not 100%, pretty sure it is.
Okay, but if there's an increase, but it's like you said, it's pay to play,
Yes.
you use that
Yep.
term, so they're paying for it anyway.
Yes.
Whoever, whatever, increased training. And then, the other, question is those numbers you gave us, on whatever the line was for the deputy coordinator, what was that again? From 3692 to what?
4160. $4,160.
Thank you.
And to answer your question on that, yes, that heating or the propane cost does help run the training props at the fire school. So that is.
There's not another line for the
Nope.
training period, it's out of this one, okay? Just so we understand that, because I know, again, same thing, that there'll be an increase.
Yep.
There'll just be an increase in, dollars going out for that next year. Good, that answers it, though, thank you.
Legislator Klein? All right, any other discussions on the amendments set forth? All right, vote on both of those amendments. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, they stand approved. Back to the original budget with the amendments. Any other questions on them? All right, hearing none, all in favor to send it on, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Stand approved. All right, thank you. 911. What the heck is he?
I don't know. I thought maybe it wasn't coming.
I don't know what.
This is our chance, then.
Chance. Director 911, what's that, man?
We'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know.
We did that once.
Well.
We've got search and rescue here.
Yeah, let's go, well, let's go to search and rescue. They're up on page 1 or 2. Two. So search and rescue, actually, we were discussing their budget at one of our meetings here back this summer when they brought their new reg to show us. And if you recall correctly, us as a committee asked the cost and expenses of that new reg, which is a wonderful, wonderful addition to the service that they provide. And, you know, it was coming to the conclusion that it was about $1,000 or so. So we're looking at, and it's just a shame to say this like this, we're looking at $5,000 for such an added service to our county. It's just something that, you know, it really has a tremendous impact on the safety of our constituents. So I would like to entertain a motion, put it on the floor for the $5,000. Motion by Legislator Klein, second by Legislator Mangano. And I would open it up to you lovely ladies if you have any comments you want to add in there. Or any questions.
Just that, yeah, due to the vehicle, our costs are increasing, but we're trying to get more donation grants, fundraising to help cover it, but anything that maybe we can offer is great.
So we do have the 5,000 from the 4,000. In my eyes, that's peanuts for what we're getting. And I do know that Sutton's, we have to look at that at some point in time for, they utilize that as a storage facility and such over there. So we really, whoever's sitting in this seat next year, please take note that you should pick that up and run with it and try to get something done there. Is there anything else for search and rescue? Legislator Klein?
Yeah, I'm gonna mention it because of the fact I always mention what kind of a service they do, and you're better than a blue light special Kmart. For a lot of you young people don't know what that is. But anyway, as what is that going to be enough to keep your equipment new, or I should say new, safe? Because I know a lot of your equipment is based on wear and tear and age and things of this nature.
Right, well, I think our biggest expense is the insurance on it, so, as far as, it's a pretty good vehicle, we only budget like $500 for repairs and whatnot. Knock on wood.
And how about your radios and things like ropes and all that kind of stuff that you need?
Equipment, same thing. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll be all right for now. We'll see what next year brings.
Okay.
One of the radios that's going to be covered under SHSP funding. That's one thing we buy them every year is one of the radios for their systems. We're also working on enfolding them into EMO as a field team because we can contract with them for that and get them additional funding. They come to training, they participate in exercise, so put some more money into their budget to do something for that. So we think they'd be a valuable asset for us for field teams, and it would offset some of the time that the Sheriff's Department and Fulton Fire participates in that. So it's one thing we're trying to help with them.
Well, I'm going to make a motion here to amend this budget to go to 6,000, and I'd appreciate a second.
You got the second.
Second by Legislator Klein. Multiple seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, stands approved. I would note, all the agencies sitting around this table, no offense, Dave, but except for Dave, we've had a discussion that's been ongoing regarding drones and such, and Search and Rescue has stepped right up. They really want to get involved in drones, and we had an incident out on State Route 3 that without the drones, we probably wouldn't have found the individual. Unfortunately, the individual passed. Legislator Trudell and Greco have sat in on those discussions for that. During this budget process, between the three of us, we'd like to educate the rest of the Public Safety Committee on the importance of the drone aspect in public safety and everything moving forward. It holds a very important part now with the technology. Just Saturday night in my neighborhood, the Sheriff's Department put a drone up checking for an individual who was attempting to break into houses and such. So, I got to see firsthand the effectiveness of that technology. But even outside of public safety, we're in the new air corridor. There you go. I was going to say coordinate, but corridor. And economic development in that regards is something that really could could add to it. So just so the committee knows, there will be more to come on that, something that I would like to see move with this budget process this year, something that's definitely a value-added addition to our public safety area. So more to come on that. All right, moving right along. I appreciate search and rescue. Do you have anything else you want to report on?
I do not, well, we celebrated our 50th
Yeah.
anniversary. Yes, we are joining the radiological survey team. I wasn't sure if you really wanted an actual report
whatever
from
you
me.
want to do, yeah. You came all this way, you got the show. Go ahead.
We had 25 calls year to date, 2 mutual aid on and I, the one in Clayton County, just recently resolved. And academy next year. That's about it.
Great. Any other questions? All right. Well, we're gonna move along here. I don't know if somebody can give the DA and 911 a call and see where they are. Maybe they got misspoke. I
I
don't
reached
know.
out to Kevin, he's dealing with some personnel issues, but he's hustling down here.
Okay, yeah, I texted them too.
We'll hold on. We'll hold off on that then. Seeing how the sheriff is here, we'll go right into the sheriff's budget. That's on page. Let's see what I got here.
56.
56.
I'll entertain a motion to get the budget onto the floor.
So, man,
Motion by legislator Klein, second by legislator Greco. Sheriff and undersheriff, you want to give us the highlights? Let us know what we should be looking at here.
first thing I want to say, anybody's wondering why we're both sitting here looking like bums, today's the start of No Shave November for cancer. I hate it, but it is for us. Anyways, the most noticeable things are the positions we're adding is, 2 of them are for the body worn cameras, just the immense amount of data. And it's either us or the DA's office is gonna have to manage it, and it's across the board, it usually falls on the agency. So it's, discovery laws, and just one of those unfunded mandates with the cameras coming that should be up and running by the end of this month. What else did
So you're gonna have a coordinator for that?
we're gonna have,
Somebody-
yeah, we're gonna take senior deputy, put them in there, or 2, depending on, problem is, we don't really know until we get in there and get it running.
Right now, we have a lieutenant running the
Yeah.
kickoff of it, starting it, getting it rolling. But at some point, there's just gonna be too much data for him to man, go through, figure out what gets turned over for discovery, so it will turn to a deputy just to manage the data, but it'll be overseen by one of the lieutenants.
And the hardware and the software to support all this, is this in place up already?
Yeah, that's all done.
To the closet, we're waiting for them to come
Train
and
our.
do the kickoff, probably this month.
Here's the situation, every time a deputy pulls over a car, no matter what it's for, and every interaction, if there's a ticket written, an arrest made, it all be, under new discovery law, all that has to be retained, separated, and sent to the DA's office, to go out to the discovery office, to the,
Even tickets, even summonses?
everything.
And where it gets worse, when you get body cameras, if you have one officer writes a ticket, but for some reason, guy's giving them a problem, 2 more guys show up, now you have 3 body cameras on one scene for a traffic ticket. All that's gotta be reviewed, turned over,
Yeah.
that's discovery.
How do we work the multiple agency issue? I mean, let's say the backup is a state trooper instead of,
Yep,
Sure.
and the troopers are gonna be going live as well as the city police, and I think we've got it pretty much worked out. We're all using Axon, so it's a data management. So that's how we can merge it
we're all on
all.
the same page.
Go to the DA's
I'm
office.
sure there's gonna be some bumps in the road, but we'll work it out. Other agencies have across the state, so we'll get it figured out. But we got a pretty good working relationship. So far, it's been going well.
Legislator Klein?
Gentlemen, how long do we have to, what I mean long is period of time, how long do we have to hold this information?
That's a good question, but I know obviously with cases, if there's an arrest made, I think there's a substantial save, we have to save it for quite a while. I'm not sure, but that's part of the body camera package we bought, is that we're saving it online through Axon. But, I'm not sure on retention, to be honest with you.
I mean, you hear about it in, an overturn of a case that happened
25 years ago, for God's sake. Now, I know it's a little bit different time, but there's still a problem of once in a while somebody gets convicted of a particular crime or whatever it may be, and more evidence comes forward later on down the road. And I'm not picking on any agency or anybody else. It's human things that happen. And I just was curious how long we have to hold that stuff.
We follow whatever the state retention is, and I would think on a crime, we probably keep, that's one of the main costs of the system. The cameras are fairly inexpensive. It's the storage that we're paying. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's a significant amount that we pay annual fee for storage for that, because they maintain it for us.
Now, does that annual fee go up as more, day one, you're gonna have 1
Yes.
megabyte of
When they
whatever?
start, the way they programmed our last contract, if I recall correctly, they add it every year.
Or because you're storing it longer, and it takes, you know, okay, got it. Thank you.
I'm not sure what other questions or what other budget questions.
So just so we're aware on this budget, as most of us know, and it's been put out in the front of it, there's gonna have to be a change when it comes to drug task force. We'll be looking to move all that underneath the sheriff's office. There's a few things that we're still working out on that, so we can't do it right now, but we will do it, but we'll be doing that going forward. Just so nobody's blindsided about that.
Budget modification and then any change to the budget.
Well, we're gonna have to take some from the drug task force currently is under the district attorney, and then we're gonna have to move it over under the sheriff. There will have to be some discussions on some positions and such because of what the sheriff feels is needed in there, and I agree with him wholeheartedly on it, compared to what positions the DA has. So we're gonna have to talk about that a little bit more in depth going forward, so.
On that subject, I can tell you that I spoke with the chief yesterday of Oswego City Police, and the city police have decided to bolster also. They're gonna have a supervisor, and I think 2 or 3 people they're gonna add. So we're trying to make some significant changes to the drug task force. I mean, we simply are not doing enough to address the drug problem in this community. And it's getting tougher because before, when somebody was arrested, we would have them in custody. We could kind of twist their arm to go into rehab. We don't have that thanks to bail reform. We don't have that anymore. And it's starting to show out there on the streets.
So this is gonna be it may be a slight cost, but it's a cost that I feel we need to take to protect our constituents and help alleviate a little bit of the drug problem in our county. So, putting our best foot forward there. All right, so back on the sheriff's budget as presented to us, moving it along to F&P. Does anybody have anything else? Got a motion and a second? Want to add a position?
We had asked,
Director for
I
Administration.
thought it was already in there.
No.
it was not, it was left out.
The 2 that you originally.
Right, we had asked, I believe the 2 were put in there.
Right, you asked for 2.
2 for
fill-up.
discovery,
Those are in there.
but the other
The others
request,
came later, so.
we did make a request for a director of administrative services, or whatever title was deemed appropriate, but I think we came up with that for now. Somebody to oversee our account clerks, our accounts payable, our accounts receivable, grants. We just feel that since we've been there, I've been tasked probably with most of that, and I don't want to say it's over my head, but if that's all I had to do, it would be more than a full-time job. But with everything else that comes in on a daily basis, I think we're missing opportunities to do better in our purchasing, do better in our receiving within the department. If we had somebody with some experience overseeing that, I think in the long run, it would be a savings on what they could do for us. And it would make us much more efficient.
You went through HR, right, for the title?
We did, but we got that in at the last minute, and we came up with.
What was the title again?
Director of Administrative Services is what we actually came up. I don't know if HR questioned after we put that in. They said there might be.
All I got was the.
Madison County has.
Paperwork.
Madison County
Yeah,
sheriffs have
yeah.
one that they've had for going on 4 years now, and they find he's a fantastic resource. So I use that as our basis, and that was the title he has.
All right, what's the dollar amount?
I don't have that proposal. It was submitted on that position. You can pull it up.
Oh, do we know what they were paying?
No,
Because
that's
they were
good.
gonna-
No, what's on the sheet is what's
Uh,
here. These came
I used
later.
what was on the
They were-
HDL
they were
from the
supposed to-
county program when I submitted the position request.
Oh, that's right. Alright, we'll hold tight on that, we'll get that, and we'll, so we can make the proper adjustments going forward with that. Anything else on the budget?
No, the biggest thing on that is I think as a county, we fall way short. I'm sure you guys address our ways that it's, grants. We just don't pursue grants the way we should, the way other jurisdictions do. We just don't have the time. So,
And
manage
the back,
daily
yeah,
budgets
the
and-
back half of that is knowing when you go for them, what comes after in the amount of reporting, quarterly
Sure.
reporting and accountability for equipment, et cetera.
I mean, that's probably half of Terry's job in our office, it's just the grant reporting requirements associated with that, but the grants that we have, and a lot of it is grants that we're administrating for everybody else, so that's an even bigger task, is trying to, find out where's all that stuff we give the sheriff's department and tagging it and serial numbers and maintaining that stuff, so it's quite intensive.
Okay, legislator Klein?
This new position, if created, probably will be. How is that person gonna report to you, sheriff, or the under sheriff?
It'd be somebody on admin. I mean, everybody knows that the under sheriff is more involved in the budget than I am. Yeah, it would be part of the admin team.
It probably would report to me because I oversee most of the clerks that do accounts payable, receivable. Again, this, the proposal that we did for Black Creek. I mean, I've got so much going on, but yet I'm getting these proposals coming at me, trying to find somebody to coordinate them. So we're looking for somebody with some good business background that when we're getting proposals can make sure we're getting our best proposals, make sure we're getting what we paid for. Coordinating with the girl that we use for grants, Leanne West there. So I think the way we're thinking, we haven't figured it completely, but it probably would report directly to me. And then I brief the sheriff on things at our admin meetings, which we do weekly every Tuesday.
All right, well, you still have the floor, just a quick question, it's kind of related, but not, but it is, because it's dollars, and that's always related. Are we still having a difficult time or a issue with other agencies cannibalizing our trained officers?
We have, well, we'll see. Onondaga County just got a significant raise, about $20,000. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I'm concerned.
No, I wanna hear that.
We could lose some people to that. I know we're waiting for a test to come out right now. And it's just like all of us, we have less people taking the test. And for the last 2 academy classes we've done, we've limited to 15 because we've run it at our facility. The next academy class, we're tying up with, or hooking up with CCC to run it down there at their facility, at that building. And we're looking at classes of between 40 and 50. We predict 11 openings for the next academy. The chief told me that the city police, they anticipate about 8. And we're all going to, and then you have Fulton also be competing up that same list. And we're probably not going to have that many viable candidates. So we're going to start recruiting lateral transfers. We have no idea how that's going to go. I know the city police have been offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus, and they're having no luck with it.
Well, thank you for your honesty.
We just lost the probation officer to Onondaga
Hold
County
it.
probation.
I'm sorry.
We just lost the probation officer to Onondaga County probation because with more pay. The same thing, I have another one interviewing today to possibly go there too, so it's starting to happen to my department too.
And I'll just make
Okay.
one last point on grants. I mean, grant funding that we're normally accustomed to is also declining too, so it's just costing our bottom line to use funding in our departments for that too. We've seen it over every grant that we administer, they're all coming down in the amount of money that they're awarded, so there's that too.
So, the Director of Administrative Services is budgeted at $57,699. If this is what the committee would like to do, I'd entertain a motion reflecting that number and that the corresponding FICA and fringe and all that reflect the change. So motion by legislator Chesborough, second by legislator Mangano. Questions, comments? All
Does this amount, this 57 and change, also include the benefits and all that kind of stuff with that?
No, that's what I said, the 57,000 and then the required FICA and all that, like FICA's 4,100 and the other fringe stuff.
So we're looking at about 65,000
Oh,
probably.
they're gonna
give or
have
take.
to adjust that, yeah.
I just had a quick question, just to clarify what you said. Are we expecting this person to write the grants, or are we just expecting them to coordinate some grants?
Coordinate the
Like
grants.
somebody
I mean,
else.
they could pay, like, right now, our lieutenant writes some of the grants, but we use West, the company, the county is retained. He's applied for some for us. Lieutenant Basil also applies for some. So like, just somebody to oversee what grants are available, make sure we're applying for as many as we can, make sure that we're meeting deadlines, make sure we're submitting them when they're done, just managing the whole grant program.
Yeah, every time the grant writer is asked to write a grant, first thing they do is ask for an immense amount of data, and it's everybody from the agency. And that's what we look this person to
Job description.
either.
And the state has great grant representatives that help you, where you're failing in your grant writing, you'll say you need a little bit more detail here, or you need to add this.
No, that's the request for the admin and nature services.
Thank you.
That's yours. Okay.
Yeah, I have one more quick question, so that I have time for.
Go ahead.
Gentlemen, let me ask you this, do we, in your knowledge of opinion on this, do we have somebody qualified within our department maybe to do this job, or are we gonna have to look to the outside, or maybe we have to run it through the union process? I don't know what this position is.
We don't have anybody.
We have nobody in mind.
Nobody, okay, so.
Right, and HR will have to determine what labor unit it belongs to, based on the job description.
Okay. Last call for questions. All in favor of this amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's approved. Back to the full sheriff's budget as presented and amended. Any questions? Colin? Phil?
I was just gonna point out that there is some ARPA money in this budget. It was for the fingerprinting machines, I think it was, one-time cost.
That's that was a thing, isn't
Yeah, but I don't think we did any ARPA money, right?
Yeah, $40,000. Remember we were going to, it was a one-time cost that would qualify under ARPA for enhanced government services. And you needed to replace, I thought it was fingerprint machines.
We did get 2 live scan machines that we got.
You do have
for,
ARPA.
but we used money, I thought that was from sale of equipment that we did a bunch of mods for at the end of last year to move there.
But he has 40,000 under on page 61, ARPA reimbursement for fingerprint machines.
Yeah, we had talked about it during the budget meeting. But you needed
I thought we
additional
were
machines.
doing
Oh, that was for 2 more.
yeah,
That's
for 2
pushing
more.
there, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's for the
I thought you were
additional.
talking 2 we just got.
No.
You were looking for 2 more, for,
Right, rather than put it on the levy, that qualifies under ARPA as a good one-time.
That was put out in the village of
Yes.
Central Square and the village
Right.
of West.
Right. So that money is there as well.
Okay. Duly noted. Anything else? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Stands approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Air One falls under page 2, I believe. $10,000. I'll entertain a motion on it. Motion by legislator Greco, second by legislator Chesborough. Discussion. Hearing none. Legislator Klein?
Yes, again, this is a real serious public safety issue because we have to depend on another county. Obviously, and believe me, I'm not even looking forward to even maintaining a helicopter. Forget buying one, having that pilot, all that.
Clerk's asking for
But the thing is, this cemetery, as long as I can remember, and I've only been here 8 years, but it's been $10,000. I know the equipment, fuel, to keep those people flying has gone up. Maybe, and I'm not out to spend money, but I also look to be fair. And I firmly believe that we probably should raise this a little bit, but that's my opinion. It's a shame Sheriff Conway's not here because I'm quite confident he could explain to us what it costs. But when we need it, we need it. That's the bottom line. And they've always been able to help us out. So.
Well, and I think it's just that with the $10,000 as a help out, you know, in conversations that I know the sheriff has had in the past with Sheriff Conway and such, everybody had a right to be here today to ask for that. The motion on the floor is for $10,000. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving forward. Duly noted, Legislator Klein. We will, we can discuss further after. Okay. So, all right. 911.
Welcome.
Sorry
Save
for being
the best
late.
for last.
I apologize.
So we reduced the director's salary 25%.
For being late.
25 minutes late.
Late fee.
That was a motion.
We know you had a personnel
That was
issue
motion
to handle.
for-
What page are we on?
52.
That was not unanimous.
I didn't even want to call for a vote. You know?
Too late.
All right. Tell us the highlights. You actually reduced your budget.
All right, so we've actually are seeing some additional co-locations at some tower sites that are going to be coming into play in 2022 budget. We've got Dish Network that's co-locating at Oswego City, and then we have Verizon at 2 additional sites that they're all paying good rate, fair rate, at highest of what we've been able to get out of our tower sites because they are trying to get out of building any additional towers from what they have to. So those are exciting, and all of that work is currently ongoing. So we should definitely see that in the beginning of 2022. The reduction I think you see is the ARPA funds that are injected into the budget. That's to offset half of the cost of the second phase of the microwave system replacement. Working on the first phase of that this year, and second phase next year. So it's actually a little bit of an increase, but with the ARPA monies injected into it, it is a decrease to the Nat 1 budget. Biggest change, I guess, is requesting a reclassification of my senior typist to administrative secretary. She takes care of everything pretty much in the office at this point. With the retirement of my operations coordinator this year, February, completely reorganized the office and restructured the department, and she's taken on quite a bit more workload, and the administrative secretary job scope is a lot more in line with the work that actually she's been performing for a couple of years than senior typist. So got that requested in there to make that reclassification. I think pretty much there is a little bit of increase in the repairs and maintenance. Our NetMotion VPN licensing is becoming a little bit more expensive, and that's used by all of the law enforcement EMS users of the mobile data system. And I think those are the big changes.
Yes.
Did I get him?
No, we didn't.
I need a motion on the floor for this. Legislator Klein, second by Legislator Greco. Okay, discussions. Anyone? All right. Mel, do you have something?
Oh,
Just
no,
stick your
sorry.
hand.
Yeah.
Legislator Klein?
Yes, how many, Kevin, right at this juncture, how many telecommunicators are you short?
We are down 7 full-time, 2 part-time. My shifts are 7 people, so I'm down an entire shift at the moment. Now, we don't have a shift vacant. We've got all our vacancies spread across the shifts, but 3 out of my 4 shifts are at minimum regularly. We do have 2 new recruits that we just started 2 weeks ago. They're in Recruit Academy. They'll be coming out of Recruit Academy in the middle of January, end of January, and that was the result of working off of 2 different civil service lists for a telecommunicator. We were hired 2 out of that, unfortunately.
All right, and one more quick question. Your budget here that you presented, does that reflect the fact that you had a few, and take it for what it is, but you had a few war horses retire, and you have people coming in at a lower rate? Is that
Correct.
in your-
And yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We don't have to play the blacksmith costs, I guess, anyways. Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving along.
Thank you.
DA, stop DWI. What page we got there?
You're up.
Need a motion to bring her to the floor here today. So motion by legislator Greco, second by. Okay. So go ahead and let us know the highlights.
Okay. Looking at for the most part, we're holding steady for what we have this year in this year's budget. Not a tremendous amount of change. Been able to reduce a certain number of lines because of some staff changes. A couple of salaries have come down in full-time ADAs. That basically we're able to adjust down some of the lines that we have budgeted, that we have carried over for discovery reform, adjust them to what our actual expenses have been. The one area, I guess, kind of looking through the multiple different areas that we have, where there's going to be an increase for next year is on the medical examiner within the corner line of the budget. That essentially I'm asking to increase it from $270,000, which is the budget amount for this year, up to $300,000 for next year. As I explained to Phil, I'm not sure that's even going to be sufficient for next year. That basically looking at this year, when I did the budget in August, as of the end of July, we had spent about $210,000, and we've been averaging about $30,000 per month on autopsies. So that's it's about 11 autopsies per month. Due to a number of reasons, we've seen that number come up over the last several years. Part of it is we just have an aging population, as baby boomers getting toward the end of their lifespan. And really over the last year and a half, where people have been deferring, going to the doctor, seeking primary care, haven't been able to get in for primary care. We've seen some people passing away at home from what may have been treatable or preventable illnesses. But instead, they're getting found by loved ones and becoming coroner calls. We have already been able to use Dr. Sullivan last week actually on a case where we were pretty sure was a medical condition. The person had some comorbidities, and so we're able to use Dr. Sullivan. So again, I'm encouraging the deputy coroners to use that service more. So again, we may be able to inch that down a little bit. So we're increasing it a little bit for next year, but with the understanding that it's something I really have no control over. But I guess looking at the different components of the DA's budget between drug task force, DA, medical examiner, and DWI, that's the one notable exception. So I just wanted to highlight that, and I guess otherwise open it up to see if folks have any questions.
Didn't we create a coroner's position?
Go ahead.
Didn't we create a coroner's position?
It was a coroner position.
We just talk about creating, right, we talked about creating a separate, like a permanent coroner's position, right?
Right, yeah. And so Dr. Sullivan.
No,
No, we didn't?
you're, okay. hold on. So you're talking about that the county's one of three, that the coroner falls under the DA, and actually we're totally separate from the other two because of the 1946 law or whatever that was passed. So, yes, you're a little confused in the sense that at some point in time, I think everybody's in some sort of agreement, whether it's full agreement or not, that we should look at the coroner's office as different from the DA, or, standalone, whatever the new motto or new setup might be. We have to take a look at it.
We haven't done that yet.
We haven't
talked
done
about it.
that
Okay.
yet. Yeah. That's what he's talking
Yeah.
about. Sorry.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
no, it's fine.
That was it.
So that's it. And then, of course, like we talked about with the sheriff's budget with drug task force, we have to discuss something moving forward with that.
Absolutely.
How stuff's going to change around and everything, but that's a discussion that's going to happen during the budget process moving forward. So
Right.
today, when we vote on the budget, yes, it's in that budget, but that could change how that budget looks going forward.
Absolutely.
So, all right, anything else? All in favor of moving it to F&P, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're approved. Okay, and that is all of our budget committee departments for budget. Is there anything else from the committee?
I have one thing. I just got to mention, what's that?
I was just gonna call you Legislator Hall, that means I wouldn't be in office if you are. Go.
I was just going to mention, going forward, one thing that could affect my revenue is that there's legislation pending to eliminate all fees and fines. And so between my surcharge for restitution and DWI fees, it's probably around 60,000 or so a year that we take in. So that's going to be gone. And it's going to be
I'll let the taxpayer pay the full bill for the people that go out there.
and stop DWI. I don't know how it's going to affect that either. But I mean, obviously, because fines pay for that. So they're talking about eliminating DWI fines.
Okay. Anything else?
Actually, Terry.
No. I didn't know what that sign was there when you had it. I know that was after or not. Well, go
I
ahead.
tried to telepathic.
Yeah.
I shared an email with Terry and Phil.
Oh, yeah.
That basically the county received and officially got notification that we've been awarded $455,969 from DCJS. Basically working with the chairman's office and working with Terry. The funds are made available to reimburse the county for expenditures from the 2020-2021 year related to bail reform and discovery reform. And we were able to show the state that we had actually spent that amount of money. So we got it basically essentially as a block grant. And so that money is going to be dispersed to the county. But again, the chairman and Terry worked with me on that, and the sheriff, Phil and I met and talked on it. So that's nearly $500,000 in the county. The question that Phil and I posed to DCJS was, will this be an ongoing revenue source since we have ongoing continuing costs? And it was, well, we'll have to see what next year's budget looks like. Which is always the answer from the state, but at least some good news for now.
Yeah, it would have been nice to know, because we could have budgeted it as a revenue and reduced the levy by that.
Yeah.
The other part of that answer they said that was interesting is they said they would leave it up to us as to what years to allocate it to. So I want to get a clarification on if we can allocate any part of it to 22.
Yeah.
Then we'll take a look at that.
Absolutely.
Legislator Trudell.
What's an example of where you can use part of that? Because we know when the bail money, if somebody doesn't show up, we keep that bail money. But with this grant, what's an example of where you can use it? Because it seems to me that there's got to be some pretty specific guidelines on that.
And essentially, it's reimbursing for costs that we've already expended. So, most of it, actually, all of it went to reimburse for investments that this legislature made into the DA's office for personnel. Really, because of the public safety study from a few years ago, we were looking to add positions, and the legislature decided to add positions. It just happened to be those came online at the same time as the discovery and bail reform came. So we could look to the state and say, look, these were positions we added in 2020 and weren't there in 2019. Absolutely go toward.
Okay, that makes sense, that with added workload primarily, not because of bail, but because of discovery, that with additional personnel, we can use that to pay for. Very good. Thanks.
So the timing actually aligned with
Legislator Mangano.
What was the dollar amount?
$455,969.
$2.
You're welcome.
And how's your personnel situation? Is that up to snuff now? You got the 2 people you want?
We have one person, that's in the position, we've got a second person who's lined up. She's gonna be finishing her position here in the next couple months and coming on board in about 2 months.
Good.
So, fingers crossed, we should be doing better. Thank you.
All right, anything else? We'll go to the order. All right, Legislator Chesbro made a motion to adjourn, didn't you?
They did.
Okay, second by legislator.
We are so excited.